You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But being this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off, you've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
On tonight's episode of The Mitch and Rich Show, we are going to, I don't want to say dive in because it's a little too close to the Navy SEALs, but we are going to talk about Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, starring Michael B. Jordan. It's not that I'm not a fan of Tom Clancy stuff. I'm just not familiar with a lot of Tom Clancy stuff. I know Rich and I used to play a lot of the video games, but I've never read any of the books. Have you read the books, Richard?
Some of them here and there. It's been a long time since I have read them. It's been a very long time since I read them. I think Rainbow Six actually came out in '98. I think so. It's definitely been a while, but yeah, I've read a few of them.
Okay, so Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, those are the ones I remember playing with you. So I guess we have a prequel to Rainbow Six video game with this movie. If you watch the after credit scenes, I guess that's a little bit of spoiler. Sorry, folks. We'll get more into the movie after we talk a little bit about some movie and movie adjacent news. Richard, are you a fan of Tom Hanks?
I am a fan of Tom Hanks, yes.
I mean, who isn't, right? He's America's dad, so everybody enjoys him. Apple, I don't know if you watched it. Did you watch Greyhound, which was the movie that last year went to Apple TV with Tom Hanks?
I did not.
Submarine?
No, it was like the submarine movie, right?
Yeah. So
no, I didn't watch it.
He is part of another movie that has been sold to Apple TV. This time it's called Finch. Now, the movie was originally called BIOS, and Tom Hanks will play a character named Finch, who is a robotics engineer who, as it says in this article on Deadline, a man, a robot, and a dog form an unlikely family as the man tries to ensure his beloved canine companion will be cared for after he's gone. So, sounds like Tom Hanks' character is dying, and he's trying to teach a robot how to take care of his dog after he dies. The robot will be played by Caleb Landry Jones. I don't know if you're familiar with that name or not, Richard, but something that just comes to mind right away from his filmography is 3 Billboards Outside Billings, Missouri. He's the guy who owned the billboard company.
Was that at Ebbing, Missouri?
That's what it was, Ebbing, Missouri. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no worries. I was like, is that a different movie? That can't be. That's so close. I can't really quite put a face with that person.
I think he's one of those up and coming actors that a lot of people talk about all the time. So, when you see his face, you'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen him. I know him. It's an Amblin Entertainment movie. It's sci-fi, so you'll have a lot of pedigree of like Robert Zemeckis being an executive producer. It's also directed by Miguel Sapochnik, which he did a lot of the Game of Thrones episodes, including the Battle of the Bastards episode.
That's interesting.
How about
Bastards episode?
How about Red Sonja? Are you a big fan of Conan and Red Sonja?
Well, I stopped myself. I was going to do Arnold there. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan. Like, I like the Conan movies. I like the Conan verse. I read some of the run that Gail Simone did of Red Sonja, or Sonja, I guess, however you want to pronounce it. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I wouldn't say I'm like a fanatic for it. Like, I don't know a tremendous amount about it other than, she's a character that's pretty badass from the, Conan verse, if you want to call it that.
So Millennium has been trying to make this movie for a while, and for a good amount of time, Bryan Singer was attached to direct this movie. And this is Brian. They made this announcement after he was found out to be a very big sex predator creep. So not too long after they made that announcement, it was a little bit of time, but they finally dropped him from the project. This has kind of been in limbo, but now we have an actress that will play the role of Red Sonja. It is an actress by the name of Hannah John Kamen. She was the villain Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's recently been in Peacock TV's Brave New World. I remember her from, well, I don't know if the show is currently going anymore. I stopped watching after season 2. But there was a TV show on Sci-Fi Channel called Killjoys, all about these bounty hunters in outer space kind of thing. It was a good little sci-fi show, funny adventure, but I just didn't keep going with it. Do you remember this actress from Ant-Man and Wasp? I would say that's probably the one that you'd probably know her best from if you watched it.
I don't. I feel like I should. I don't, though. The name does not ring a bell.
So the character of Ghost was the character that kind of blinked out in and out of existence in the movie, if you remember watching it. Yeah. So she
that's her.
That's her.
That's
yes.
the one that's playing Red Sonja.
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm down with that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I think the last time we had a live action Red Sonja would have been Brigitte Nielsen back in the 80s. So I'm sure it's time for an update and a new person.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea, right? Everything's kind of getting rebooted and retooled and refranchised, so start clean.
I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been a new Conan movie, but we did have the Jason Momoa Conan movie not too long ago. I guess it's over a decade now, but it was
good. Is it?
It has to have been, right?
Oh man!
Did you enjoy that movie?
I thought it was all right. It's not as good as I thought it would have been.
So it came out in 2011, so exactly 10 years ago.
How is that true?
I mean, I didn't hate it. I was okay with it. I don't have a big like Conan the Barbarian like fandom though, so I don't. It doesn't hold a place in my heart, so I didn't mind. But it's Jason Momoa. We knew that he was going to be a big dude swinging a sword.
Yep. I thought there was like some talk of like Arnold coming back and doing another one for a while there, which clearly has not happened. But
yeah, there's been talks of Arnold coming back and doing Conan, King of the Barbarians, or yeah, something. It's Conan the King or something like that. I forget what it was called, but it's been in talks for a very long time where he was going to be like an older Conan, and I believe telling a story about the younger version of himself, which I guess you'd get another actor to play the younger version of himself, but I don't think that ever happened.
Just CG it like they did in Terminator.
There you go. You just have to do that. Just
So it actually. So I just pulled up his IMDb really quick here, and it does actually say announced The Legend of Conan.
I mean,
so I don't know.
Sure. It could happen.
I don't know. It says plot unknown at this time. Not shocking.
Not shocking at all.
Yeah, no. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, I love Arnie. Got a lot of nostalgic stuff because, like, obviously him, Stallone, Van Damme, kind of grew up with all of them being like the big predominant action stars of the time. So, if he wants to come back and do another Conan movie, I'm there for it. I mean, I'll watch anything he's in. Any of those three people that I just named, I'll watch anything they do. I don't care how bad it is. Even Home Stallone, I watched it.
I believe you mean Post Stallone?
Post Stallone. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hate the Momoa one, but I agree with you. Like I didn't think it was like great. I thought it was like a middle of the road movie. I think he's a good choice, obviously, to also be Conan because he's built and looks very barbarian-esque. Like he's
Hmm.
got that physical look to him, so I could see it.
I mean, Khal Drogo and Conan the Barbarian, very similar.
Yeah, kind of the same.
I don't remember if you told me you use a Roku or not, but I guess
I do.
Roku, you do?
Yeah, I have one in my it like I have the Roku TV
Okay.
in my bedroom, so it's like built into it.
So Roku and Google have not been seen eye to eye. And because of this, Roku has removed the YouTube TV app. And it's very specific that it's the
Oh.
TV app, not YouTube app. So it says that it's not according to let's see. The Roku took the dispute with Google public, warning that the tech giant wanted to manipulate search results and force the company to use chips that could raise the cost of its hardware. It's not about money, a Roku source said at the time. We are not asking for any more money, not a single dollar more in value. So it's something to do with the search, manipulating the search results, which is very sketchy on Google, YouTube's purpose. But I don't know. Do you use YouTube TV as an app?
I do, yeah. I don't want to say that I use it all the time, but I do use it, and now I'm like sitting here, I'm like, man, I gotta go check my Roku because last time I checked, it was still on there, but I haven't looked in a little while. So like maybe it's like one of those things where like if you had it downloaded, it's still there and it'll work, but like
Maybe.
if you don't have it, maybe you can't get it now. Maybe that's the situation.
That's very true. It could be it. If it is gone from your Roku TV, how severely will that impact you?
Well, like I said, I mean, I don't. I use it from time to time. Like I don't use the YouTube TV all the time, but like I definitely use it some of the time. Like I would do the DVR stuff for kind of like a Mass Singer and like World of Dance, like all that sort of normal televised things. But like since YouTube has that like built-in DVR, kind of used it for that sort of stuff. Which I don't think any of those shows are going on at the current moment. So I really haven't been using it. So
Yeah, because this gets you the stuff that would be offered on local live television.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's a very interesting story. So we'll see how far they go. I mean, that's kind of like how it is now with all the streaming. Everybody's got to agree to work together, or else we're just gonna be separating more people from services.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if they are actually manipulating search data for any sort of uh, reasons, that's also not cool.
Yeah, no, not at all. Okay, earlier this week, one of the brothers put out a story that, we already knew that Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing the next Superman story for a J.J. Abrams produced Warner Brothers Superman movie. It came out earlier this week that they are also looking for a black director to direct the film. I think a name that's been being kicked around is Barry Jenkins. And then they will more than likely get a black actor to also play Clark Kent Superman. Now, sure, I'll be there to watch it. I just think that Warner Brothers needs to just move away from Superman and Batman movies in general for like the next decade. Now we know we're getting another Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. I'm sure those are going to get sequels. We know that several Batmen or two Batmen are going to be, at least two, are going to be showing up in the Flash movie coming up here soon. It doesn't sound like Henry Cavill is going to be returning to Superman anytime soon. I think one of the weird things is that they aren't taking the opportunity to show off the already established black characters. And even if you want, there is comic book precedent for a black Superman, as in Val Zod or Calvin Ellis, which are both Supermen in their own rights, but just on different worlds. But instead, we're going to do a black Clark Kent. honestly, if you do that, you're going to have to. There has to be a part in the story that talks about the fact that Clark Kent's ancestors, the ones that would have adopted him, being farmers and stuff like that, would have to have been part of slave trade, right? So how does that affect a Superman that's growing up? So I don't know. To me, I think we should be going away from Clark Kent Superman, Bruce Wayne Batman, because we've seen it all the time. I know it's their cash cow that they like to just trot out and hope people will come watch it, but they have to come to realize that they have other characters in the quiver, so to speak.
So I gotta ask you a question, and maybe I've asked you this before, but I feel like it's worth asking again. Do you think we've actually gotten a truly, and I don't mean good, I'm not using the word good here, but do you think we've got a truly great Superman or Batman movie
I mean,
at all?
I think that Batman Begins is a great movie. I like it more than Dark Knight, but I also like Dark Knight. So those two Batman movies work for me. Are they?
What about Superman though?
Are they exactly comic book accurate? No, there's definitely liberties taken, but I think it's a pretty good, really close to great Batman movie. Superman, on the other hand, I have all kinds of problems with Man of Steel, but after watching Batman v Superman and Justice League, like I tend to like Superman or Man of Steel a lot more. I think there are parts in Joss Whedon's Justice League, if that's the way you want to call it, where you get to see a better representation of Superman finally. Because I still don't think that they did him right in either version of the Justice League movies. I have never been a big fan of the Christopher Reeves Superman movies, but that first one is probably the closest you're going to ever get to, or at least the closest that we've had so far to a movie Superman, and to being a comic book accurate movie Superman, I should say. And I think that's pretty great. The Brandon Routh one has a lot of problems also, once again, going back to Bryan Singer.
Yeah,
but
that
Brandon
movie's awful.
But Brandon Routh shows that he could have been a great Superman when he got to play Superman once again in the Crisis on Infinite Earths TV series event for CW. Like, he played off that version of Superman real well. So we know he could have done it. Just was not given good direction or in a good movie. Have you ever liked any of the Superman movies, or do you think there's a good Batman movie?
I mean, I'm definitely not. I don't know. I'm not like as invested in those comics as a lot of people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, my background's a lot more in like the independent side instead of the big two when it comes to comics. Obviously, I like Superman. I like Batman. I've read some of them. I don't think we've ever got a great Superman movie. I think there's been elements to. I think it's like you said. I think there's been elements. There's been moments where the representation has been enjoyable for me. I don't like. I don't think it personally needs to be a direct, panel for panel thing in terms of transitioning or translating a comic to a Superman movie. I just don't think it's really been done with Superman. With Batman, on the other hand, like, I don't know. I know you have a lot of issues with the Tim Burton ones, and they're by no means the comic thing, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
I remember watching those as a kid and like enjoying them. I wouldn't say they're great. I definitely liked a lot of what Nolan did with Batman. I thought those were pretty great. I I agree with you though. Like I just have to stop and think about it. It's like, well, it is kind of their cash cow, but you know, you have so many other characters. But then I'm like, do I even want them to explore other characters when they can't even get their two or three rather? Because I mean, arguably it should be the Trinity, right? It should be Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman.
Correct.
And it just
And at this point we have we're 50-50 with Wonder Woman movies, right? The first one's good, the second one's garbage.
yeah, I mean, it really is. Like, I always tell this to people, but it's like True Detective. I mean, it's like season one was great, arguably some of the best television ever been made, and then season two is arguably some of the worst. And that's exactly what happened with Wonder Woman. And so I can't help but completely agree with you. I would love to see Batman, Superman, and obviously Wonder Woman's going to have another movie, but after that, I feel like they should just kind of put the three of them to bed for a little bit, let them rest, explore some different venues, and then maybe come back to it with a fresh approach. And I say it all the time, but like, stop trying to compete with Marvel and just really get down to the fundamentals of good storytelling and good filmmaking. And I think if you do that, I think we could see those translate into great films. But for some reason, Warner Brothers just cannot get out of their own way and do that. And side related, that's exactly kind of what happened on the last episode with Mortal Kombat. Is this they just can't stand the idea of making good movies, apparently. I don't know what the problem with that is.
Yeah, I feel like they always take the wrong wrong, not advice, the wrong point. Like the thing that went well with whatever movie that they're trying to make, and they exaggerate that one. So making another Superman movie is probably just not the best idea. Yeah, we could have went with just about any other character. Like if you really wanted to do Superman, like do Val Zod or do Calvin Ellis, or even if you want some kind of little bit of recognition, do Steel, do John Henry Irons. Like we need to make up for the fact that Shaq made that one in the 90s. That was terrible. So all kinds of other characters that you could make.
That that would be pretty awesome. You know what I mean? Like they did that Heroes comic, right? Where the amulet like passed around from person to person and gave them powers, right?
It's just called Hero or Dial H or Hero. Yeah. It's someone finds it and they push the letters on the amulet or dial, and then they get a superpower.
Dude, that would be such a kick-ass show. Like that would be an amazing show to do, right? I mean, like with television being all the flippin' rage right now and exclusivity and stuff, you dump some hardcore money into that. I guess it would have to go to HBO Max, which kind of sucks, but what can you do, right? But if they, dump some money into that, I think that could be a really good show that would allow them to kind of go off and do just absolutely crazy stuff, but I don't know. We'll see. I doubt anyone at Warner Brothers is listening or
what are you talking about? I'm sure the heads of Warner Brothers listens to our podcast every week.
Yeah, they probably do, and they're like, don't ever hire this guy. He just shits all over our movies.
I mean, I want to say of the DC films that have been released, I love Shazam. I think that's a great movie. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Aquaman. The first
Aquaman was hot garbage.
As much as everybody liked the first Wonder Woman movie, I still had huge problems with the third act.
Yep.
Birds of Prey, I love the three side characters, but I didn't feel anything for Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn in that movie. So I'm about half and half on that one. The Suicide Squad was obviously a garbage movie, so I'm hoping for the Suicide Squad to be a good movie. And I think
Time will
that's
tell.
yeah, I think that's where we're at now. I think we're just waiting for them to make more movies for us to hate on.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully, somewhere in here, someone will wake up to the idea of just making good movies. But no, I agree with you. I thought Shazam was surprisingly quite good and enjoyable, which I was not expecting that, but it was.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into talking about our movie. We are doing Without Remorse, or Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, whichever way you want to talk about it. It is an original on Amazon Prime Video right now, and it stars Michael B. Jordan as John Kelly, which was very confusing to me. As I said, I'd never read any of the Tom Clancy books, and I barely know the character, but I always thought I knew the character was, like, when he shows up in the other Jack Ryan movies, is John Clark. And
Yes.
spoiler, so if you haven't watched the movie yet, you probably shouldn't be listening to this part. He doesn't get that name until the end of the movie when they give him a new identity. Call him John Clark instead of John Kelly. So I was very confused throughout the movie. I was like, why is he not John Clark? Why John Kelly? Why make that little bit of a change when making it into a movie? So I'm glad about that. Were you familiar with any of these characters before this movie?
Yeah, actually. So, pretty familiar. Well, maybe not pretty familiar, but maybe not a good way to say that because, like, my memory's pretty garbage. And like I said, I read a lot of these books a long time ago. But yeah, John Clark eventually, like, became, like a bodyguard and driver for Jack Ryan, and while he was like president and stuff like that. And then eventually he goes on to
Wait. Jack Ryan becomes the president?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So
You've never seen that movie with Harrison Ford? Like,
Clear and Present
Yeah.
Danger or
Yeah.
Patriot Games? Those are both Jack Ryan movies. No, I've never watched it. I've never watched those Jack Ryan movies. The only Jack Ryan movies I've seen are the Ben Affleck one, Sum of All Fears, and Shadow Recruit with Chris Pine, and then now the John Krasinski movie or TV series. So
series, yeah.
I'm wondering if will we get that far? Will we get to see John Krasinski as the president?
Well, that's what I was wondering, because he's like, "Oh, I want to get this to the president," and then I was like, "Oh shit!" If they like, I mean, I don't think they've done season 2 of Jack Ryan yet, but that would be a pretty big leap because last I knew he was on his way to Russia.
They have done
at the end of the
season 2.
first season. They did. Oh, did they? Damn! I gotta get caught up then.
Yeah, they released season 2 last year, so they're working on season 3 now.
Oh, okay, so I definitely got to get caught up. But yeah, so when he's like, "Oh, I got to talk to the president about starting this organization with NATO and stuff," I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe we're gonna get." But yeah, he was kind of like one of the bodyguards and drivers for Jack Ryan. I believe it was like either while he was president or before. And then he goes on to kind of. I don't think I guess he founds Rainbow in a sense, but he goes on to be kind of the commander of Rainbow, which is, I believe, where the 6 designation comes from, because like 6 was like a commander terminology or something like that. So yeah, like he has been a character within the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan universe. I don't know. Is that the Ryan verse? I don't know what you call that at that point.
I think
the
it's just the
Clancy-verse?
Clancy verse, yeah. Because doesn't Sam Fisher also go in there somewhere?
I mean, the games. I don't know that Sam Fisher was technically in the novelizations from like early on. I think that was more of like a video game thing, kind of like Ghost Recon. I don't think the books were first, if I remember correctly. Which I said, I very well maybe not accurate on that, but yeah. So I think that's kind of the interesting takeaway, is that you have the show, you have this movie. I think pretty clearly are being communicated to at the end of this film that there will be more of these, or that we will at the very least be transitioning into some sort of like Rainbow or Rainbow Six type of scenario or films, maybe show. I don't know. So it would be really interesting to see if they do kind of start tying these things together and start bringing Jack Ryan as John Krasinski into these films. I think that'd be really cool. Like I'd be down for that.
So, what was your overall feel on this movie? Did you enjoy it?
So, well, it's if anybody's looking at this for it to be like the book, I don't remember the book being anything like this. I think like the book takes place around the Vietnam era. And like his wife, I think just dies in a car crash. Like I don't think she's murdered or anything like that. And I vaguely remember him like he falls in love with this like transient woman who you kind of end up finding out that she was like uh basically sex trafficked and drug muled, and like he kind of goes into this thing to like kill. I don't know, they go back. It's like I said, it's been a long time, but I think they go back to like where she's from, and they like run into her pimp, and like they get into like altercation, and then like that's where he almost ends up dying. But then the government, like once he's better, is like, oh, we need you to go to Vietnam and get these war prisoners out because they have like intel and stuff. So like it's a totally different story than what this movie is. But I mean, if they are in fact looking at ever doing crossovers or mergers between this and, you know, the Jack Ryan show that they're currently doing with John Krasinski, obviously they couldn't do Vietnam era because they've already established that that's not the case in the show. So, you know, they're like trying to modernize it and all that. But I think that I think had Michael B. Jordan not been in this movie, it would have been a complete and utter turd. He manages to save it just because I genuinely like him as an actor. I think he does a great job. He's fantastic at action. But yeah, this story is just. I mean, this is beaten to death story when it comes to Navy SEALs. I mean, if you read Jack Carr's stuff, what is it? The Terminal List. That's his. I think that's the first book in his like series. Basically the same thing. You know, it's this op that goes wrong, and it's been set up by the government. His pregnant wife gets killed. He goes on a rampage to get justice. So like. This story is like beyond beating a dead horse at this point. It's so tired. So yeah, from that standpoint, it's not great.
Yeah, I would say that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say that Michael B. Jordan, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Brett Gelman are probably the ones that are doing work in this movie. Like they are very good at what they're doing in this. Everybody else kind of just seems like they're there. They didn't really give me any kind of performance. I think I'm agreeing with you just about everything on this movie so far. If it wasn't for Michael B. Jordan and the other two actors, this movie would have been completely written off for me. There's nothing here. There's nothing special here other than them. Talking about the cast, there's Michael B. Jordan, who plays John Kelly. Jodie Turner-Smith plays Karen Greer, his superior officer, commanding officer. Jamie Bell, so returning to work with Michael B. Jordan after the Fantastic Four movie, as Robert Ritter, CIA agent. Guy Pearce as Secretary Clay. Lauren London plays Pam Kelly, the unfortunate woman that has to be fridged so that John Kelly can have a mission. And then Brett Gelman is Viktor Rykov, the Russian ghost killer guy that we are believed to be the bad guy throughout this whole movie, until eventually we get to the part where John Kelly catches up to him and he's like, "No, I'm American. I'm literally just getting you here so that we can start a war and, you know, get killed."
Yeah, and I gotta say, I love Guy Pearce, and as soon as I saw him walk on screen, I was like, "Oh, all right," and then nothing, and I was like, "God dang it!" I'm like, "Why?" Like he's such a good actor, and nothing. Like they don't even give him a chance. It's just like, oh yeah, I agree. It's so sad. I think in a lot of ways because. Again, I think there's opportunity for a really great story to be in here somewhere, but it's just like let's find the most generic Navy SEAL movie story ever told and go with it. And you're like, God, like if you want a better version of this story, like I said, go read Jack Carr's The Terminal List. It's so much better than this. Like there's so much cool shit that happens, and there's just really not in this. The combat scenes that happen are pretty good. Like they're done well. Like the prison fight scene
that was a good
short.
Scene. It was short,
cool.
but it was good. Yeah. I really enjoyed that scene a lot.
And I thought that was pretty smart too, because like I saw him go to the sink, and I was like, what's about to happen? And then I was like, oh, that's super smart. Like, why has no one else done that in a prison fight movie? So there's these moments that exist where I'm like, yeah, if they could have just found a way to do like a continual amount of these moments into a story, it would have been great.
There are parts there, like you said, there are parts in this movie that are just really good, and the rest, it just doesn't make up enough of the movie for me to be like, yeah, I want to go back to this. You're right. It's such a beat to death story, and I mean, I can't even say if the novel was originally written in 1993 that this is the first one, because it's been a story for a long time, right? Where we do something like this. What, I don't want to ask you what would you do to make it better, but like, what is something else that you were expecting from this movie?
Well, I mean, not to say that it would be better, but I mean, if I think about like the whole Victor storyline, like, I mean, for starters, the whole thing with his wife, like, it's so cliche, it's so overdone. Like, not doing that would have been
better,
so much better, in my opinion. Well, yeah. Because like as soon as she showed up, I was like, oh, God. It's like, here we go. 10 minutes, she's gonna be gone. I don't even think it was that long. It might have been, but like, I don't know. I think if it would have been more of just this back and forth, like antagonist of Victor, right? Because again, we don't really have like even a good antagonist in this film, and I think that's an area that it greatly is weakened by, right? But I think if there would have been this thing where he would have been on this Victor's trail through this whole thing, and you're finding, because that's the whole thing with Jamie Bell's character too, Robert Ritter, right? It's like from the very beginning you're like, oh, this dude's shady, red herring, like it's so overtly in your face that you're just like, well, obviously he's not going to be the one that's a POS, right? Like he's not going to be the dude that's betraying them, because they're shoving it in your face so much, and then you're like, well, gotta be Guy Pearce, like gotta be involved.
The funny thing is that they were shoving it so much into my face that I kept thinking that it was going to be Karen, his commanding officer. I thought she was going to be the one that betrayed them.
Oh, yeah, like that probably would have been cooler too if that would have been the case, right? But like, I don't know. I just think that's really where it kind of was lacking. Was there's just, like you said, there's not a strong enough, and that comes from a good antagonist or even a great antagonist rather in a story, right? Is that you kind of need to have an equal and opposite, or even a more powerful force in terms of the antagonist. And it's just lacking,
So let me ask you this: what is your comprehension of what the story is?
Like overall, you mean?
Yeah. What's the plot of this movie?
Well, that basically America, basically everybody in America hates each other, and there's a huge divide, and so people within the government are like, oh, well, if we, can unite all of the country behind a hated enemy, then we'll be a better country. And so they're like, we're going to give you freedom by fucking over Russia and making it seem like they started a war with us, and then John Kelly is like you killed my wife. I'm gonna kill everybody. But then doesn't like. I mean, he kills like a couple of people, and then. But yeah, I don't know. Like that's again. There's not when you really think about it.
Yes.
There's not much here.
Yeah, you're right. That's the whole. You're right on the broad strokes of we're gonna make it so that everybody has a common enemy. Happens to be Russia, and we're gonna make it so that Americans are all going towards that one common enemy. But the beginning part of he's on a mission with the rest of his SEAL team. That is an op that's being run by Ritter as a CIA agent. And they go in, they kill a couple guys, but there wasn't the mission that they thought they were going to do. And then they use that, I'm guessing the Americans or, Victor character, they use that to then kill off those SEALs, making it look like Russians. And then he's going to go back to kill those guys. Like he ends up killing who was it that he killed in the limousine? Oh, they killed that Russian like diplomat or whatever, right? Which I mean, I was like the whole walking through the fire and just sitting inside the car. Like I know that it's a not a callback, but it's a thing so that they can call back to it later when he's sitting in the car underwater. What's that called? A setup and a payoff, so that when he's in the car with the senator in the water, like we get it. John Kelly can withhold a lot. Like he can sit in the burning car, or he can hold his breath underwater forever. Either way, he's tough. But there's a lot of steps that happen to get to the point where you just have an angry John Kelly. Like, I don't know killing his wife was necessary or not.
Oh yeah, but that's what I mean. I think you could have just had his team members get killed by Victor Rolf or whatever, and that could have been enough, right? And like that whole mission in the beginning is stupid. They like somehow they go through water into the building thing. Like I'm like, okay, and then in the next scene they're talking to the CIA guy who just showed up out of nowhere. They go on this mission, they shoot a couple of people, an RPG goes off inside, they evac after one of their teammates died, and then the dude calls in an airstrike on the building. Like, why wouldn't you just lead with that? Like what the hell? There was no points to go boots on ground if you were just gonna bomb that thing to oblivion. There's absolutely no point to do that.
Nope.
I think they maybe they were trying to recover something or something, but obviously I don't know. That whole you're right. There's just too much stuff going on to get to a horrible plot point that doesn't even need to happen to piss him off. Like I mean, you could have just started the movie with that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, just have him be angry already.
Well, yeah, or just kill his wife. Like, boom, opening credits. Oh, I'm gonna have a baby. Oh no, now he's mad. Hour and a half of revenge. Let's go.
Okay, so this movie is written by Taylor Sheridan. Definitely a writer that I enjoy. I watched a lot of his movies now. Wind River, Hell or High Water, Sicario. I have not yet watched Yellowstone, the TV series, or the soon-to-be upcoming spinoff from Yellowstone, 1883. Obviously, I can't watch it because it hasn't come out yet. But I enjoy a lot of his movies. So, do you think it was the writing in this one that was just bad?
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's not the only writer on this. There's like I think 3 other writers listed.
Okay.
So I mean, but I mean, yes, like obviously the story is not written well, as we've just described by the horrible, tired, sleepy plot that exists in this. Which again, I mean, I get it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but I mean, do something a little different. I mean, but I agree with you. I like a lot of his other movies too. Wind River was great. Hell or High Water was great. Sicario was great. I mean, how much of this did he write? I don't know, but it's definitely feels strange to me based on the other, I guess, pedigree of those films, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange to me that this one would be so, like, bad in comparison to the other ones. But yeah, the story is definitely not good.
So then you going into the director. The director of this is Stefano Sollima, which he also directed Sicario: Day of the Soldado,
Yeah,
which is the sequel.
Sicario 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has a TV series, or he directed a couple episodes of the TV series 000 on Amazon Prime, which I've been wanting to watch. I have not yet watched it. It looks pretty good. There is the show Gomorrah, which I believe is on season 4 that he's directed episodes of, and a lot of other looks like Italian TV series that I have not heard of or watched. Do you have any feelings towards those?
I Sicario 2 is okay. I like the first one better.
The first one is better,
but that's pretty normal for sequels, though. I'm just like you, haven't watched 000 yet, or Gomorrah. I don't really know much about that at all.
I think it was just picked up by. I think it was just picked up by HBO Max. Like it's originally a foreign TV series, but it's picked up by HBO Max, and they have all the seasons now. So if you really want to give it a chance, check it out there.
Oh yeah, I might have to do that then. That sounds pretty awesome. The directing seems fine. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, to me, the biggest thing I think is just the story. I mean, visually, this film looked very good. It shot very well. I mean, Michael B. Jordan's performance is good. The shootouts are pretty good. I mean, could they be better? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know what the time or budgets or any of those situations are, so it's kind of hard to say some of those things, but I think visually it's nice. It definitely looks good. It's got some interesting action pieces.
So, well then, speaking of the way it looks, your cinematographer on this is Philippe Rousselot. Rousselot? I can't say names. I'm terrible. Rousselot. This is the director of photography for the 2 Fantastic Beasts movies, The Nice Guys, Beautiful Creatures, the 2 Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., Larry Crown, The Great Debaters, The Brave One, Lions for Lambs, Big Fish, Constantine, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Antoine Fisher, Planet of the Apes, The Tailor of Panama, Remember the Titans, The People vs. Larry Flint, Mary Riley, Flesh and Bone, A River Runs Through It, We're No Angels.
I think he also did Interview with a Vampire, too.
Interview with a Vampire? I hadn't got to that yet, so I'm not surprised if he did. But yeah, I mean, he has quite the list of movies. So was there anything in particular that was really interesting to you?
Well, I mean, again, like you said, like he's got a hell of a resume and an amazing cinematographer. A lot of the underwater stuff I thought was really beautifully shot, which I always think is obviously from a logistical standpoint very, very tricky. And I thought that was pulled off really well.
So stuff like that's usually done in a tank, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that would be kind of the best approach to it, because you would obviously have a lot more control over the situation. But yeah, I mean, I would think that would be kind of more common than trying to shoot on location underwater somewhere. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but ideally, yeah, you would probably want to be able to control as much of the water as possible. The other thing that would happen too is, I mean, if you shot like, if you actually went and shot in a river, like obviously there's going to be a lot of potentially dangerous currents. There's going to be a lot of junk, mud and pollutants and things that are probably
critters or animals or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, going to some sort of large scale water tank would would make the most sense. Yeah.
And usually right outside the frame of the camera is the surface of the water, right?
Not always. I mean, sometimes they do go down fairly deep. You know what I mean? Like sometimes they're divers with cameras that are in there, and they have like people with full blown oxygen for the actors and stuff.
That's
So I
just
mean, I
gotta
wouldn't
be
say always,
scary.
but yeah, well, of course. But you know, I mean, like you think about like Tom Cruise in that free diving scene or whatever. And it's like, good crying out loud.
But that's Tom Cruise. We all know that
No, of course.
he's gonna do a little bit more than needs to be done.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I cut you off though. You were what else were you saying?
Oh no! So I was just saying, you know, a lot of the underwater stuff looked really good, and then I don't know, there was like a lot of scenes where it looked like he was kind of leveraging like silhouetting them a lot more, or like kind of backlighting them, which kind of takes away your ability to connect with the character visually in terms of like eye contact and stuff. And I think that always makes it a little bit more uncomfortable. At least for me as a viewer, it makes it a little bit more uncomfortable and a little bit more of like mysterious, and you know, kind of presents this sort of element of danger in a way, right? By like taking away some of your senses as a viewer and not having that ability to see clearly into the, you know, corners and things like that. So I thought that was pretty effectively leveraged through the lighting. But yeah, I mean, it's beautifully shot. I mean, it is a visually great looking film for sure. And after hearing who the cinematographer was, it's not surprising that it is. I mean, I would expect nothing less.
Let me ask you this. In a movie like this, it's an action movie, but it's also like a spy thriller action movie, right? Is there a way do do you film this different than you would say Demolition Man, where it's just, you know, pure shoot 'em up action, like in the way that, you know, spies, they have to do things that are more morally in the gray area, whereas, you know, it's, I don't know, I guess those like Demolition Man, it's kind of morally gray too, but you don't really see him killing a lot of people. So do you have to film that in different ways so that it gets it across to the audience that, you know, this is still your hero?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think as a director, you know, it's going to fluctuate a lot based on who the director is, right? Because,
Right.
you know, fundamentally, they're kind of the um, captain of the ship in terms of the creative vision of the film. You know, so a lot of that's going to come down to their interpretation of the script, which, again, going back to, you know, script being really the blueprint of the film, right? Like, I feel like not just within the filming, but I feel like a lot more of that would need to be prevalent within the script writing itself, right? Like, because you're absolutely right. Like, we watched Demolition Man, and, you know, it's like, oh, well, he's the Demolition Man, and they call him that because he's like, you know, they call him like a Neanderthal in the movie because he's supposedly so violent or whatever. But then you're watching it, and it's like, well, he's not really. Like, and then, you know, was Demolition? I don't even think Demolition Man was rated R, was it? I feel like it's
Yeah, it
PG
has to be.
13.
No, I think you
Is it
see
rated R?
it. You see nudity in it, so it has to be
I mean, barely, I
rated
guess,
R,
but
right? I don't know.
I guess you're right. I don't know,
I could look it
but
up
I'm
real
just
quick.
saying, like you watch it, and it doesn't, I guess, feel like a rated R movie, right? Especially if you were to compare it to this. Like if you were to sit down and just visually watch Demolition Man next to Without Remorse, like there is a lot more graphic content, a lot more killing in Without Remorse. But even then, it's not. It doesn't feel gratuitous. Like there's you know, it's not like Kill Bill or whatever where she
Right.
starts lopping off the arms and legs of the crazy 88. You know what I mean? Like it's not that, but it definitely has a little bit more of like a realistic vibe to it. And you know, I think a lot of that is going to come from, like I said, the screenwriting. I think a lot of that's going to come from the directing and what you do with the performances. Obviously, casting an actor that is also just genuinely very, very lovable or very likable, as is the case with Michael B. Jordan, kind of creates some instant uh, sympathy for them. And in a lot of capacities, when you have a character that's charismatic like that, or even an actor playing someone who's charismatic. Like, just naturally as people, we have this psychological tendency to give charismatic people a bit of a break for doing shitty things, which maybe isn't the best thing to do in all cases, but it happens, you know. And then, like I said, I feel like working with your cinematographer to create the lighting, which, you know, the lighting, the framing, all that sort of stuff is obviously also going to play a role in what, or at least hopefully, right? Again, all of these are attempts that you're trying to accomplish as filmmakers, is to create this attempt that it is darker and this character is going to do darker things, but fundamentally we're going to end up being okay with it because there's a strong enough, you know, quote unquote evil motivation behind the antagonism of that character that we're gonna get on board with them and root for them and go through their journey, even if they are more of like an anti-hero. You know what I mean? But like, I guess case in point would be like Deadpool, right? Like Deadpool is a horrible character. It does just completely unbelievably horrible things, but we love him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we're okay with it, you know?
Yeah.
The lighting in Demolition Man, especially going back to lighting, like if you go look at the lighting in Demolition Man, it's a lot higher key than this. It has that kind of action comedy vibe to it. But even then, there are, you know, Stallone is still kind of an anti-hero in that in some capacities, and you watch him beat those people up, right, for the Taco Bell, and you know, Sandra Bullock's character comes out and is like, "Wow, you really licked his ass and whatever," and he's like, "I kicked his ass," you know. And then she's like, "Well, that's a good thing because they were stealing," and he's like, "It's not a good thing when they're stealing food, though," which instantly creates a humanity to him that we can connect with because we're like, oh, he is going to do horrible things, but he's only going to do horrible things to people that actually deserve to have them done to them.
Right.
And so I do think you have to really work to showcase that. And again, that's, I think, why they go with the killing of his wife and his unborn child. Is the hope would be that would be enough for people to be like, okay, he's going to do some horrible stuff and we're just going to be okay with it. Does it work? Yeah, I mean, I think it does, again, because it's Michael B. Jordan and I'm on board to watch him kill a bunch of people in a movie because it's not real, you know? Had they gotten anyone else though, like, I don't know, it might not have worked. You know what I mean? So it's a very thin line to walk for sure, I think.
Okay. So the movie, after we find out that John Clark, or at the time John Kelly, figures out who it was that was really behind the murder of his wife and unborn child, he goes into hiding with a CIA-provided backstory or identity under as the name of John Clark. We get an after-credit scene. This after-credit, or during mid-credit scene, if you want, where he shows up in Washington, D.C., and now Ritter, played by Jamie Bell, is the director of the CIA, and they have met. They're meeting up, and John Clark is giving him the idea, or giving him a talking, saying, like, I have an idea for a team of, you know, international agents, all different agencies, all working towards a common goal, so something like this doesn't happen again. Bear in mind, this is a year later, also. And it's all to set up a rainbow team, or a Rainbow Six, as you brought it up earlier. Is it presumptuous for them to suggest they're going to make sequels to this movie?
No, I mean, I don't think so, because in the sense that they don't really need this movie to perform in the same capacity that a normal distribution studio would, right? Again, Amazon's kind of in a different situation where the bulk majority of their revenue doesn't even come from the film side or the streaming side of things. You know, and whether people want to or not, they're paying for this content by subscribing to the service. So I don't really think it is for them, because I think as long as they're committed to it and they're like, no matter how this goes, we're going to at least do these 2 films. I could see it. And, with Netflix, I think it was Netflix came out and said that they were, I don't know, I think it was like $17 billion for exclusive content, like in 2022 or something insane like that. So, we're in a situation where these, platforms need an ever-growing library of exclusive content. And I mean, I watched it and you watched it, and I think we're both saying it's an okay film. It's very middle of the road. It's not great, but it's also not complete trash. There's definitely some redeeming things to it. I think there's a lot of things that people would want to watch. So for them, I think, again, they also have a lot of analytics on what people are watching, how many people watched the Jack Ryan show or continue to watch it. Like, I feel like it's a pretty low risk investment for them to do at least these 2 films. Now, if the second one just completely bombs out and nobody watches it or very few people do, then yeah, we probably won't see more of them. But I don't think it's that crazy for them to have been like, we're going to commit to at least 2 of these movies.
All right. If you have an opinion on this movie and you want us to hear about it, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Mitchipedia, GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. Where can people find you online, Richard?
The easiest way to find me online is just go to ricown.com, RICOWN.com. And you can check out all my social links on there.
The rest of Geek Elite Media is at Geek Elite Media on Twitter, at Geek Elite Media on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Geek Elite Media is our Facebook page. Check out archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our website, geekelitemedia.com. Whatever podcatcher you use to listen to us, please rate and review us. It helps spread the word of our network. But until next time, this is the Mitch and Rich Show on the Geek Elite Media Network, saying always remember to geek out.
Geek out.
This concludes our broadcast. Beep.